All right, welcome to another episode of Black Swan Revelations. In today's video, we're going to be talking about how do we know when the rapture is going to happen? And is it possible to know? And we're going to talk about Matthew 24, and we're going to go through this with a fine tooth comb. And let's wrestle through this chapter together and just see quite simply if we can see a rapture in Matthew 24, because there is some discretion. Some people are like, well, no, there is no rapture. Yes, there is. No, there isn't. All this kind of stuff, just depending what camp you live in. So let's just wipe the slate clean and let's just see if we can see what's going on here in Revelation 24 and see if we can see a rapture. Let's just start from scratch and see. And if it's not a rapture, what else could it be? And when could it be? And can we know the time and the hour and all this good stuff? We're not talking about date setting. We're just saying, based on this chapter here, is there a possibility that this is talking about the rapture? And then is there a possibility that we can know when this is going to happen? Okay. And if not, can we know that? Can we know it with absolute no shadow of a doubt, can we go, yes, this is definitely not a rapture verse? Can we do that? So let's just wrestle through this together. So let's just go to Matthew 24. This is the King James Version. And Jesus went out and departed from the temple, and his disciples came to him for to shew him the buildings of the temple. And Jesus said unto them, see ye not all these things? Verily I say unto you, there shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately. This is interesting, saying, tell us, when shall these things be? Or tell us, when shall these things be? Question mark. And what shall be the sign of thy coming, your coming, and just for a little cherry on top, and of the end of the world? Okay, so we have three things here. So let's just have a look at them real quick. So I just wrote this out just to save a little bit of time. Let me see if I could use my little vanishing pen here. So the first thing is the disciples asked Jesus, they said, when shall these things be? So when we see this question, I think pretty much anybody reading this will automatically understand that they're asking about the temple, because they just finished saying, look at how magnificent these buildings are of this temple. And then Jesus said, see all these things? Not one stone will be left. So we can determine right out of the gate that that's what the disciples are asking. When is this going to happen? When shall these things be? When are these stones going to be thrown down? I think most of us can go, yeah, that seems to make sense. And the second question, what shall be the sign of thy coming? Which is interesting, right? That the disciples are asking this. They're saying, when are you coming back? When are you coming back? Because remember, in the upper room, when Judas left, he was possessed by the devil and he left. Jesus said, now I'm happy. I can have a good conversation with you guys, an intimate conversation. And he lets them know, he says, look, I am going away. In my father's house are, in my father's mansion, in my father's house are many mansions. If it were not true, I would have told you. I'm going away to prepare a place for you. And when I go away, I'm coming back to bring you to me. So this is what the disciples were aware of, that Jesus is coming back to get them. Get them. So this is important, and we can jump into that. What shall be the sign of thy coming? Like, when are you coming back? Like, I don't want to infer anything into this here that I already have, because the first scripture that comes to my mind is Jesus saying, I'm going away, and you guys are all sad right now, but I'm coming back to get you. So they're aware of it. And let's just go to the verse right now, because that way I don't want to inject and cause you guys to go, oh, you're inferring something that isn't in the Bible or something like that. So let's just jump to John here real quick. Let's go to let's just go here real quick here. Right, so this is John chapter 14. They're in the upper room. Let not your heart be troubled. Ye believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house, in my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you, I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you unto myself, that where I am, there ye may be also. And whither I go, you know, and the way you know. So then they go into the detail about how are we going to know all this stuff. So again, in my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you, I go to prepare a place for you. So can we all agree that Jesus is telling his disciples, saying, I am leaving? Is that fair? Like, again, I don't want to inject anything so that you guys are like, oh, this guy is a false prophet, he's a false teacher, and all this kind of stuff. Let's just read this. I would have told you. So if it were not so, I would have told you, I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you unto myself. So he's telling his disciples in private, saying, look, he's not telling everybody. He's not telling the whole public. He's not broadcasting it in front of the multitudes and multitudes of people. This isn't a Sermon on the Mount. This was in an intimate setting where he's telling his disciples, I know you guys are heavy-hearted right now because I just finished blasting or letting Peter know that he's gonna betray me a few times. So Peter's questioning, where are you going? And Jesus basically saying, like, I'm going to get crucified. And right now, you don't know what's going on right now because you guys are all in sorrow, but you're also going to get crucified one day as well. You're going to do the same thing as me, basically. Because Peter started asking, how come I can't follow you right now? And it's like, just, okay, simmer down, simmer down. I'm trying to tell you guys something. He's like, I know you're all excited to come with me and you want to do exactly what I'm going to do. But Peter, just before before the cock crows, you're going to deny me 3 times. Suddenly that shuts up Peter for a couple of minutes. And then this is when Jesus says, look, let not your heart be troubled. Ye believe in God, also believe in me. Okay? And then he talks about, in my Father's house are many mansions. So again, we understand that Jesus is going away. His Father's house has many mansions. He's preparing a dwelling place. Now, I believe this happens to be a new physical heavenly body for us that we will inherit. That's my belief. And I base that off of 1 Corinthians 15, that Paul says we get a new resurrected body. We don't get this corrupted body anymore. But that's another video. I don't want to infer that in here because some people say, no, no, Jesus went away for 2,000 years and he's a carpenter. He's building homes and he's working hard and he's pounding nails into these magnificent structures and all this kind of stuff. That's what he's doing. And then Jesus is going to bring us to those mansions. Okay, if you want to believe that, cool. I believe he's designing a new heavenly body for us. Again, based on 1 Corinthians 15. But that's another video. Okay. So far, I wanted you to focus on Jesus is going away and he's telling his disciples he's coming back. So is that fair? Am I being crazy so far? Am I being a false prophet? Am I saying something that is out to lunch to people that are like, no, no, that's not what Jesus meant. It's in Greek, when it means he's going away, it means coming back. It means not leaving. That's what that means. It means actually he's pointing people to the temple. That's what that means. He's not saying that his father's house has many mansions. He's saying the temple. He's pointing, and that's what something that Joel Richardson would say with FAI Studios. He would say, no, no, no. This is pointing to the temple. It's not pointing to heaven, guys. Don't be crazy. So I'm trying to use scripture here, trying to stick with it. All right. So let's go here. People always say, oh, you're making fun of Joel Richardson all the time in your videos. How come? How come? Well, he's from Boston. He can take it. He said in his video, he's like, guys, this is how we do. Like Middle Easterns, they're hard with each other. They joke with each other. They blast each other. Then afterwards, they're friends. So I think Joel and I can be good friends. I do. But sometimes you need a little bit of iron. You need iron sharpening iron. So he believes that Jesus was pointing people to the magnificent temple, when we clearly see that Jesus is like, hey, don't be impressed with this temple. It's going to be destroyed. He wasn't impressed with it. But according to Joel, he thinks that that's ultimately what Jesus was pointing people to. Just look up a video that's called did Jesus really mean mansions? Is that what he really meant, that he's going away to prepare a mansion? If you type that in, you'll see the video and you'll see that Joel doesn't believe that Jesus is telling us to go to heaven with him. All right. All right. So continuing on. So let's go back to our little magical screen here. What shall be? So when shall these things be? Got that covered. Jesus is going to talk about it. Let me, ran out of real estate space on my little desk here. So my other desk that I used, I actually lent it to my mother-in-law in her room. But this is how I have more room to move around, more real estate. Right now, I got to crowd the camera a little bit. It's kind of hard to navigate between my little keyboard and my mic and my Bible. Okay, so when shall these things be? And the second thing is, what shall be the sign of thy coming? And the third thing is the end of the world. So three things that Jesus is talking about. And I just made it clear, crystal clear, that the second thing right here that Jesus is talking about is the disciples were aware that Jesus is coming back for them, and they are aware that Jesus is talking about the destruction of the temple, and they're asking a third thing. So when is the end of the world? Okay, when is that coming? When everybody wants to know, when is the sign of that coming? And basically you could say the sign of the end of the world. Like, when is this going to happen? When is this going to start? Because most people don't ask when it's over. And I honestly believe this is not what the disciples are asking. Can you tell us when it's over? Can you tell us after you've arrived? Can you tell us after the end of the world? Can you tell us after? It's more like, when are these things going to happen so that we can kind of keep an eye on it, or at least we could write it down on paper so that if we're dead and someone else were to show up later in time, maybe it's 100 years in the future, 1,000 years in the future, 2,000 years into the future, that if someone were to read this, that they would know when this is going to happen. So let's continue here. All right, so verse 4. And Jesus answered and said unto them, take heed that no man deceive you. So it's interesting that right out of the gate, this is the first thing that Jesus says before he begins. He says, take heed that no man deceive you, because there's going to be people that are going to come and deceive you. And we see this all the time on YouTube. We see people say, no, no, no. Yes, the destruction of the temple happened already, but also Jesus already came back. The 1,000-year reign is over. There is no devil anymore. Jesus handed everything back to God the Father, and now he's sitting down and he is basically allowing us to do whatever. I know, it sounds crazy just saying it. But this is what people think. They think this is already past. This had happened a long time ago already. All right, so take heed that no man deceive you. For many, let me go away from this screen. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. So many shall come in my name, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass. But the end is not yet. So if we go back to our screen, this is not the end yet. So when you see all this stuff, that's not the end. Okay? So he's giving us a hint here. He's saying, look, you're going to see all this stuff, but that's not the end. That's not the end of the world yet. All these other things have to come to pass. Wars, rumors of wars. People are going to be saying that they're me and all this kind of stuff. But that's not the end. That's not the end of the world. And when we're talking about the end of the world, we're talking about a time frame that is going to end the world. Is that fair? Is that fair to say that this is what we're talking about? We're not talking about the last second of the world. We're talking about the sign of the end of the world. That's what we're talking about here. Again, I want to be fair. I don't want to infer anything, but I think this is reasonable to say that there's a blockage of time that is set aside that is called the end of the world. We know this to be Jacob's trouble. We know this to also be Daniel's 70th week, days of revenge, days of vengeance, all this kind of stuff. So this is the end of the world, and it's not one day. It's just that's the time frame. When is the end of the world coming? When is that? Not after it's over. Nobody cares when it's over. They want to know when it starts. And I think that's pretty fair. Like if you're talking about a hockey game or a football game or any of that kind of stuff, and you're asking a question, hey, nobody ever says, hey, when does that football game end? It's like, what are you talking about? Well, when's that football game end that's on Friday night or Monday Night Football? That's kind of weird. I don't know when it ends because they could go into overtime, could be a weather delay. We don't know. Don't know if the game gets canceled, but the starting time I can tell you if you're interested. No, I don't want to know when the starting time is. I want to know when it ends. It's kind of weird, right? It's kind of a weird thing to say. So again, in this same concept, the disciples are asking us, hey, when is the end of the world? When is that coming? When is that blockage of time? When is that block of time coming? Again, I want to be reasonable for people that are watching this video and not to inject my own thoughts. And it's very difficult. It's very difficult because I could put my own biases, I could say that, right, into all my videos because it's my channel. But I'm trying to just approach this and share with you what some people believe, whether crazy or not, and then also share my thoughts. But I want you to be able to read the scripture for yourself as well, and then you decide what you believe. Because ultimately, that's what the scripture is for. Like, you have to decide at the end of the day what you believe. I can't convince you in any direction. All I could do is just share my thoughts. That's it. So, okay. So for many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, shall deceive many, and ye shall hear wars and rumors of wars, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in divers places. Okay, so can we agree that this still isn't the end yet? Because he just said, but the end is not yet, for it's almost like he's continuing on. Nation shall rise against nation. And we know this isn't the end yet because we see this happening. We've already had a couple of world wars. Israel's at war. Don't know what's happening with that right now, if they've stopped or what. I kind of predicted in October, November, I said, watch by Christmas time. This is going to be old news for people in North America. Why? Because we get bored of wars quickly. We do. This is not a slap against you, the viewer. This is a slap against North America. We like being entertained. I think this is a fair statement. We like being entertained because this doesn't happen to us here. So instead, we make videos about the war and we say 48 dead here, 27 dead here, a tsunami here, earthquake here, all this kind of stuff. And we just rattle off numbers like it's nothing because we're so cold and insensitive to data. If one person dies, that's too much in an earthquake or a collapse of a building or in a war. That's too many. But we rattle this stuff off like it's just secondhand nature. Hey, did you hear 48 people died in an earthquake? Yeah, I guess there's going to be hundreds more and all that. We just rattle it off, not even thinking about the families that this is affecting. And if you think the average funeral holds 200, 250 people show up for a funeral, 200 times 50, don't know what that is, but it's a big number. I'm just too tired to calculate that. But there's a lot of people involved, a lot of families. Not talking about distant relatives, like there's communities affected now. And we just rattle the stuff off like it's nothing. So, point is, in North America, we're desensitized. The Ukraine war only grabbed our attention for like a year, and 3 months in, we're basically bored of the Israel-Gaza war because we're starting to see that creep into the media where we're like, okay, what else is on the channel? This is what we're doing, guys. I'm just being honest and open with you guys. I don't watch the news. You guys watch the news. But I'm just saying, this is how we are. It's cyclical. We watch stuff and then we get bored of it. So when there's a sport, there's like, let's say baseball. As soon as baseball season was done, I'm done. I'm not watching any sport. I'm watching baseball because there's a lot of games in baseball. It's like 160 games. All right, continuing on because people want to get to this. Want to get to where's the rapture here? Come on, Shane. Where's the rapture? Okay. Nation shall rise against nation, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in divers places. Divers places means places that you would never think of. Unique places. Like we know there's always going to be a earthquake in Japan. Just seems like that whole nation is on faulty ground, if you will. It seems like there's always earthquakes there. And again, not to be insensitive, but it's the same thing in California, Florida. They're all on faults. And we shouldn't be shocked that they hear tremors. Shouldn't be shocked. But there was a big earthquake that happened. What was it, a couple days ago in Japan? So if you want to know what's going on, just go to Watchman Rivers channel because he gives you news updates every single day like clockwork. It comes on 10 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. I think it's 12 Eastern, something like that. Tom Coate, good old faithful Tom Coate, gives you all the news about what's going on with Israel and any of that stuff that's going on. So go there. Don't come here for news. Come here for Bible, go there for news. All right, so, and all these things are the beginnings of sorrows. So it's not the end, it's the beginning of sorrows. And they shall deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and shall be hated, and ye shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. And then shall many be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another. I get a lot of people offended on my YouTube channel. I can say something, and all of a sudden people are offended. Why are you talking about the rapture in Matthew 24? Well, we're talking about it because it's my channel. I can talk about it. And we're wrestling through this right now. We're wrestling through this chapter to see if it's even possible that there could be a rapture that Jesus is inferring or talking about. Then they shall deliver you up to be afflicted, shall kill you, and ye shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. Then shall many be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another, and many false prophets shall rise, and shall deceive many. And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. But he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. So when is the end? It's coming. Remember? I just said it's a blockage of time. The end is a block of time. It's not an exact second or an exact minute, and then that's the end. There's a block of time that represents the end of the world. Just read the book of Revelation, and if you're reading that and you can't tell that this is the end of the world in the book of Revelation, I don't know what you're reading. Because in Revelation chapter 20 or chapter 21, it talks about a new heaven and a new earth. Therefore, the previous chapters are talking about the end of this world, the end of heaven. I think that's fair. I think I'm being more than fair that saying the book of Revelation is talking about the end of the world. And it doesn't happen in 1 minute. It doesn't happen in 1 day. In fact, it looks like it's happening over a period of at least 1,007 years. How do we know this? Well, we know Jacob's trouble is 7 years, approximately. And then the last half is worse than the first half because there's that 70th week that has to be fulfilled. And we also know that the book of Revelation talks about 1,000-year millennium kingdom of Jesus Christ reigning on earth for 1,000 years. And we see the devil is bound for 1,000 years. So we know that the book of Revelation covers a lot of area, a lot of time and space. We know that. All right. But he that shall endure unto the end. So what is the end? The end that's coming. Because Jesus just said, the end isn't here yet. This isn't the end. When you see wars and rumors of wars and earthquakes in diverse places, pestilence, all this stuff, that's not the end. That's the beginnings. Are we clear so far? Like, did I lose anybody? Am I injecting something weird by saying, but he that shall endure until the end, the same shall be saved? So the end hasn't happened yet. It's coming. So endure until the end comes. Endure. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all the nations, and then the end shall come. So we have the gospel being preached to all the world. And Jesus just before that is saying, if you can endure until the end, when is the end? When is the end coming? It's coming after the gospel of the kingdom is preached in all the world for a witness. So that's how long you have to endure till. Why does he say endure? Well, because we're going to get persecuted for our faith, for believing in Jesus Christ. If they hate Jesus, they're going to hate us. So this is why Jesus says, endure till the end. So when does the end come? Has it happened yet? No, we're not at the end yet. Because Jesus just said in verse 13, he said, but he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. So we're approaching the end. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations. And then the end shall come. So now we have a timestamp of when the end's coming. When? After the gospel is being preached unto all the nations as a witness to all the world. And we're enduring until that is finished. Okay? So this, we still don't have the end yet, but we have what leads up to the end. Okay? We're still leading up to it. Verse 15. When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place, whoso readeth, let him understand. So now we have a little parentheses of people that are reading. So if you're reading this in the future and you see the abomination of desolation, remember the disciples didn't see this. What? Yeah, they all died before that happened. So then we can infer that this is talking about a future time. And that's why we get a parenthesis that if you're reading this right now and you're looking and you see the abomination of desolation, then you know that you're in the end. Again, I want to be fair to people reading. When they're reading this and they're watching this video, does that make sense to you that the disciples lived 2,000 years ago? They're not alive anymore, but they wanted to know when the end is coming. What is that going to look like? What is the sign? Because they're not going to see it. They're going to die before that. So they're asking Jesus, when is the end? When is the sign of the end? So I want to know when you're coming, and I want to know when the end is, or we want to know. So then when ye shall therefore see the abomination of desolation, because now we have the gospel that's preached to the ends of the world, for witness unto all the nations, and then shall the end come. So the end is coming after that happens. When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet stand in the holy place, whoso readeth, let him understand. So if you're reading this at the same time that that happens, because again, I'm going to infer something that we're not here for that because we are raptured. Okay, hold that thought, put it off to the side just for a second. Okay, because there's two audiences here. There are one audience that is actually reading this as it happens, and they're alive in this time frame of when they look outside their window and they see the abomination of desolation happen, and they see the temple that is built. And the Antichrist sits down in the temple and declares himself to be God. So those people that see that will see the end. They're going to see the end. People that are reading, like right now we're reading this, I could die tomorrow. This could happen 10 years from now, 100 years from now. We don't know when this is going to happen. But whoever's reading this at the time of reading this and they see that, they're going to see the abomination of desolation. Now they know when the end is, because this is the end. Hopefully that makes sense. Let them, now he's continuing on now, because this is the reader reading this. If you're seeing all this stuff, this is what you need to do. Okay, if you're witnessing this, this is your instructions. Let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains. So if you're reading this and you're in Judea and you see the abomination of desolation, get out of there. Get out of Judea. Let him which is on the housetop not come down to take anything out of his house, neither let him which is in the field return back to get his clothes. And woe to them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. But pray that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day. So this tells us a little bit more of the audience that's reading this, and it looks like it's a Jew that would pick this up and read this and go, okay, what's going on here? There's no Christians around to tell us what's going on, but what is this? Oh, look at this. Whoso readeth, let him understand. Okay, I'm reading this. What's it say? Oh, get out of here. We got to get out of here. Hopefully it's not on Sabbath. Okay, it's not on Sabbath. It's today is Tuesday. Okay, so we're good to go, because we're not going to get punished for doing anything on the Sabbath. It just makes it a little bit harder to pack your bags, buy stuff, buy gas, all this stuff on the Sabbath. You can't do that. It's very difficult if you're in Jerusalem. A Gentile doesn't think about this stuff. I'm telling you, we just go. If we need to evacuate, we evacuate. But this tells you who the audience is. It's whoso readeth. If you're reading this, when you're seeing this, evacuate and hope that this doesn't happen on the Sabbath. For then shall be great tribulation. This is the end now. He's talking about the end. This is the end. Jacob's trouble. For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. So we know this is Jacob's trouble, because God was asking Jeremiah, is like, okay, let me ask you a question, Jeremiah. Do men give birth to children? And Jeremiah is like, as far as I know, no. No, don't think so. No, I'm going with no. Okay, then why do I see all these men holding their gut as though they're going to have a child? This is what we call Jacob's trouble. Every man, and you can include women too, are going to be running around holding their stomach in pain because there's so much stress during Jacob's trouble. Scientists are going to have heart attacks because they're perplexed as to what they see happening in the stars. They're not going to be able to explain, why did Japan go underwater? Probably won't go underwater, but I'm just throwing it out as an example. Why did Hawaii end up underwater? Why did Florida get submerged? Why did Florida break away? Why did California break away? They won't be able to figure this stuff out. Why is there an earthquake in Denver? Why did all the mountains get pancaked? Why are all the mountains in the Himalayas being leveled? Why are islands disappearing? Why are there floods in areas that there shouldn't be floods? Why are there meteorites that we can't detect and they're coming out of nowhere and lighting places on fire? Why is this all happening? They can't figure it out. So this is the days of vengeance, Jacob's trouble. This is God's wrath being poured out on earth. This is why Jesus said, For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no ever shall be. So this is worse than the flood. Flood was bad. It was catastrophic in nature. It finished off everybody on the earth except for one family. This is going to be worse than the flood, worse than Sodom and Gomorrah. 5 cities were destroyed. 7 cities altogether were destroyed with Sodom and Gomorrah. You have Sodom, Gomorrah, and then 5 other cities outside of it got wiped out as well. And except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved, but for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. Who are the elect? Well, those are the people in heaven that are begging God, saying, how much longer before you avenge us? And it was said, just a little bit longer, just a little bit longer. Here's your robes. And you just have to wait till your other brothers are slain in the same way that you are. So that's the patience of the tribulation saints, if you will, because they have to go through that in order for the 70th week of Daniel to be complete. So there is a time limit. It's only for 7 years. Again, day 1 is probably not going to be bad as the 7th year. It gets progressively worse and worse. And we see this in the book of Revelation when the first 6 seals are open. All these catastrophes don't happen on the same day. They spread throughout 7 years and get worse and worse. And then we see the 7 bowls of wrath being poured out upon the earth. And it's very bad. Very, very bad. And Jesus says, if those days weren't shortened, then no flesh will be saved. As in, nobody on the planet will be left. Nobody on earth. That tells you how serious this day is going to be. And when I say this day, I'm talking about that day. I'm talking about the end of the world. It's a 7-year period. It's not just one day. It's not just 1 minute, 1 hour. It's a time frame. So those days should be shortened. There should be no flesh saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. It's only 3.5 years left when this is happening. After the abomination of desolation, we know there's only 3.5 years left. We know that. When does the Antichrist show up? Before 3.5 years before the abomination of desolation. Then if any man shall say unto you, Lo, here's the Christ, or there, believe it not, for there shall rise false Christs, false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders, insomuch that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. So if it were possible, they can deceive the very elect. So this should tell you something as well. Right now, we have discernment. We can tell a false prophet. Hopefully we can. And we can tell if someone is snowing us, someone is lying to us. So asking for money, all this kind of stuff, we can tell, hey, this guy's kind of shady. We can tell that. But there will come a time where it's going to be very difficult to tell who's shady and who isn't shady. All right. Behold, I have told you before. Wherefore, if they shall say to you, Behold, he is in the desert. Can I say something about this real quick? Thank you. If someone is telling you that Jesus is coming from the desert, run away. Run away from them. They are a false prophet. They're telling you something that's not in the Bible, because Jesus said, if they say, look, he is in the desert, who are they talking about? The Messiah, Jesus Christ. He's in the desert. He's coming from the desert. Don't go. Don't go. Joel Richardson teaches, he has a whole series on Jesus coming from the desert, starting in Egypt, working his way through, following the same path as Moses, replicating the exit out of Egypt He calls it the desert prophecies or whatever it is. And he's literally on record for saying that Jesus Christ is going to take about 35 to 45 days coming from Egypt and going all the way to Jerusalem, unlocking prison doors because the Antichrist is locking people away along the way in the wilderness or wherever else, and he's going to be unlocking them until he gets to Jerusalem. So this is from Joel Richardson. Just look him up. Look up desert prophecies or desert training, and he talks about Jesus Christ coming from Egypt. Now, Jesus Christ, so you can listen to Joel, and you get mad at me and say, he's not a false prophet or whatever. It's like, okay, whatever. Whatever you think. All I'm telling you is what Jesus says. Wherefore, if they shall say unto you, behold, he is in the desert, that tells me Jesus is not coming from the desert. Am I saying something crazy? Am I misunderstanding Greek or Hebrew or Latin or Swahili or something? Like, is there something that I'm misunderstanding about this verse? Behold, he is in the desert. Go, not forth. Pretty straightforward. Behold, he's in the secret chambers. Believe it not. So if you see people that are asking you for money so that they could build bunkers, aka dens, and then they tell you the Messiah's in these dens, don't go. I'm telling you, don't do it. So don't go in the desert and don't go in bunkers thinking that Jesus Christ is there to save you. Don't do it. This is from Jesus himself saying, behold, he is in the secret chambers. Believe it not. Don't believe them. They tell you he's in a bunker in Israel. Don't believe it. If you hear someone teach and say he's coming from the desert, go out to meet him, go out to see him, and have a procession to bring him into Jerusalem. Don't go. Don't go. Jesus is saying, don't go. For as lightning cometh out of the east and shineth even unto the west, so shall be this coming of the Son of Man. Where is lightning? It's in the sky. So that's your sign when Jesus is coming back. For wherever the carcass is, there will the eagles be gathered. Okay? Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened. So now we have the wrap up. After those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn. Got to ask yourself this question. Why are they mourning? Why are they mourning? Because there is no moon. At least the moon loses its light. The sun loses its light, and there's nothing left to see but the light of Jesus Christ coming in the sky. And they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, and from one end of heaven till the other. Now, there's two theories on this one here. They shall gather together his elect. Christians, those that believe in pre-trib, would say that this is the rapture right here. Post-tribbers would say, see, it's after the end of everything, so this is a rapture. Others, kind of like myself, will say, well, the elect could be from one end of heaven to the other. So perhaps this is those that are living in heaven, including the angels, because it says the angels are going to gather his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. Doesn't say earth here, it says heaven. So when you read this, it sure looks like people are coming from heaven, to be gathered to come down when Jesus comes in his power and in his glory. And this mirrors, to me, this mirrors what's happening in Revelation 19 when Jesus has a white robe dipped in blood and gets on a white horse and comes down from heaven with his armies following close behind, who also have white linen on them. So this kind of reminds me, it's kind of the same idea. So again, they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. So they're coming from heaven. My interpretation, that's what it looks like here. Elect coming from heaven. Now learn a parable of the fig tree. When his branch is yet tender and putteth forth leaves, ye know that summer is nigh. It's close. So likewise, ye, when ye shall see all these things, know that it is near. Not that it is over, know that it is near. Why? Got to ask yourself that question. Why is Jesus telling us to be watchful of when it comes near? Is it to be drugged through the 7-year tribulation, or is it to prep for something else? So likewise, ye, when ye see all these things, know that it is near, even at the doors. Verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass till all these things be fulfilled. What generation? The ones that see this. Remember the reader? The one that's reading this, if they see these things happening, that generation will not pass away. Why? It's going to happen quickly. It's going to happen quickly within 7 years. Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my words shall not pass away. So this has to be fulfilled. But of that day and hour knoweth no man, no, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only. It's interesting, in this rendition, we don't see the Son of Man not knowing. In your version, it'll say the Son of Man doesn't know, but in my version, it doesn't say that. In the King James, it doesn't say the Son of Man, not even the Son of Man. It doesn't say that. But in your Bible, they put that in there. In the New Living Translation, the American Standard, NIV, NLT, I already said NLT. All the versions insert Son of Man. Not even the Son of Man knows in the book of Matthew. But in my Bible, in the King James Bible, the Son of Man is not there. It only says the angels don't know, but my Father knows. It's interesting, right? When you think about Jesus Christ, if you know Jesus, you know the Father. If you know the Father, you know the Son. We know that, right? So it's interesting that the Son is not here. I find that fascinating. So then he goes in to explain how this is going to happen again. So he's backing up again. But as the days of Noah were, so also shall the coming of the Son of Man be. Remember when they asked, when shall thy coming be? Right here. Look at this. Remember this? He just told them when the end is. And now he's going into detail as to what the sign of thy coming will be. What should we watch out? So he mentioned wars, rumors of wars, and all this kind of stuff. Then he goes on to talk about the signs. Actually, he goes over here to the end of the world, what to look for. And then now he's going to be more specific on the sign of his coming. He's going to show you what to look for. But of that day and hour knoweth no man, no, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only. But as in the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. So we're talking about this right here. We're not talking about the end. We're talking about this here. Okay? This is before the end. I think that's fair. For as in the days that were before the flood, They were eating and drinking and marrying and given in marriage until the day that Noah entered into the ark and knew not until the flood came and took them all away. So shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. So it's going to be like before the flood, not after the flood, not during the flood. He could have said the coming of man is going to be like when Noah went through the flood, or the coming of man is going to be like after the flood, because that's what post-tribbers believe. They believe that the rapture is after. No, that's Jesus coming back down to earth from heaven. Pretty clear. So far, we saw this. We just read it. Every eye is going to see him. We just read it. That's not a rapture. That's Jesus coming down from heaven. A rapture is going up to heaven. So now Jesus is explaining the flood. But as the days of Noah were, so shall also be the coming of the Son of Man. This is what his disciples want to know. When are you coming back to get us? Remember, I just read in John where Jesus said, I'm going away. I'm going to prepare a place for you, but I'm going to come and get you to receive you to myself. That sounds pretty intimate to me. Sounds pretty intimate. Private, right? Private meeting. Because don't forget, the disciples pulled Jesus away privately to ask him these questions. So that tells me there's a secret rapture coming. People don't like that. They're like, no, there is no secret. Jesus never kept any secrets. Really? His 3.5 year ministry was a secret. His birth was a secret. They only knew what city, they didn't know when. No man knew when exactly. They had an idea. Magi from the east saw signs and knew that this is the time. This is the time that the Messiah is going to be born. So, what makes us think that this is going to be a public event where everybody's going to know when the rapture is? It's silly. It's a secret because that's how Jesus works. He taught us. He said, you know what? When you pray, don't be like the hypocrites that like to pray out loud in front of everyone and they got their reward. But instead, go to your closet, go in secret, pray in secret, and God will reward you openly. That's how Jesus taught people. When he healed the blind, healed the sick, he's like, shh, don't tell anybody that I did it. And they go out and they go blab and they go say, hey, this guy did it. He healed me. Jesus like, don't do it. Demons, Son of God, are you here to torment us before the time? It's like, shut up. Get out of them. He wouldn't let them speak because they knew who he was. So now he's telling his disciples, not the whole world, he's telling his disciples, it'll be like the days of Noah. For as in the days that were before the flood, you can't emphasize that enough, before the flood, this is what it's going to be like. So if we use that same analogy before the flood, that's today. Today is before the flood. Today is before the end. How do we know it's not the end? Because we're not in the end. This isn't the end right now. I think that's pretty clear. So we are in the days of Noah before the flood, not after the flood. We're in the days of Noah before the flood. How do we know this? Because people are marrying. They're booking marriages like crazy. People are booking cruise trips, all kinds of stuff. When the Great Tribulation starts, I'm just guessing. I don't think people are going to be booking on cruise ships when islands are disappearing. I just have that feeling. I have that sneaking feeling that people aren't going to be traveling on airplanes when planes are going to be falling out of the sky left, right, and center. Just a gut feeling, just a little bit of a hunch. People aren't going to be booking vacations. They're not going to be planning a wedding as in, oh, hey, this is year 2 of the tribulation. This is where the trumpet blasts are going on and all this stuff. Hey, this is a good time to get married. No. Hey, we just had 2 bowls come on the earth. Why don't we get married between bowl 2 and bowl 3? No. No. So the days of Noah. For as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day that Noah entered into the ark, and knew not until the flood came, and took them all away. So shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. So it's going to be the same idea. People are going to be marrying and giving in marriage, and then all of a sudden, boom, we're gone. We're out of here. We're snatched away. Just like that. Why? How do we know this? Well, we just read that Jesus is going away and he's coming back to get us. When? Well, in the days of Noah, before the end is when he's coming back. Because he's giving us an illustration of what it was like in Noah's day. They didn't know. They weren't paying attention to anything. Noah knew the flood. Noah knew when it was coming. You can't tell me that Noah didn't know because God told him to build the ark. And when he put in that last nail, God said, you have 7 days, and then I'm going to bring the rain, bringer of rain. So Noah went into the ark, all the animals went in the ark, and God closed the door. That's it. Done. And the people were not aware of it in the world, were not aware that God had closed the door in the ark. It was done. Done deal. There's no going back now. I believe that Noah couldn't get out of the ark then when God closed it. Probably had to open up the roof or something. Just my thoughts. But God closed the ark. God closed the door, and then it began to rain. The fountains of the earth opened up. The windows of heaven opened up. So this is not your ordinary rainfall for 40 days and 40 nights. Floods came, windows of heaven opened up, plus it rained, and the ark rose above the earth. And people are like, but Shane, that's not a rapture. He didn't get raptured from the earth. He went through the flood. I'm like, are you insane? Are you nuts? Going through the flood would be swimming. And there probably was companies that were trying to get people to buy life preservers and boats and who knows what kind of stuff they're trying to hawk. Probably teaching them swimming lessons or scuba lessons, saying, "Hey guys, one day this whole world is going to be covered in a flood, and you can swim anywhere you want, even in your backyard. You can go swimming, scuba diving, all this stuff. Free lessons. First lesson's free. The next one's like $1,000 or whatever." Meanwhile, Noah and his family go into the ark, and boom, rains, and they go above the earth, 30 cubits above the highest mountain. That tells you it was a global destruction. So let me ask you the question, who was saved from the flood? Noah, right? Did he go through the flood, or did he go above the flood in the ark? Was he protected? That's the question. Was Noah protected from God's wrath upon the earth? Yes or no? It's a simple question. Yes. Perfect. Was Noah saved before the flood or after the flood? Well, he was saved before the flood because God told him to go into the ark and he closed the door. So this is what Jesus is communicating to his disciples. Look, it's going to be in those same days where people are marrying and giving in marriage, and you're going to see these signs, the fig tree and all this kind of stuff. Get ready because I'm going to come and get you. Get ready. All right. Then two shall be in the field, one shall be taken, the one left. I have no problem with the one being taken is the one being raptured. I have no problem with that. Two women shall be grinding at the mill, one shall be taken, the other left. Watch, therefore, for ye know not what hour your Lord doth come. Why else would he say watch? But know this, that if a good man of the house had known in what watch the thief would come, he would have watched and would have suffered his house to be broken up, would not have suffered his house to be broken up. So he's basically just saying, look, like if you know a thief's coming, you're going to be waiting. You're going to be waiting. You're going to be watchful, going, I know he's coming anytime. I heard he's coming. So this is how we are to be, because it's going to come upon us like a thief suddenly. How do we know this? Because Jesus is telling us you won't know exactly what hour when this is going to happen, but just be ready for it. It could happen tonight. This is January 2nd. It could happen tonight. We don't know. It could happen tomorrow. If it happens, then what's going to happen next is Jacob's trouble, the flood. It's not going to be the flood like Noah's day, but that's when destruction came, was after Noah was in the ark. I don't know how else you can look at this. I honestly don't. I'm really trying hard to go, okay, well, did Noah not go in the ark and get saved before the flood, or did he get saved after the flood and then went into the ark? It's pretty clear he went in before. Pretty clear, but some people try and stretch things out and they go, no, no, no. Noah was not saved in the flood, guys. He never went into the ark. They just make up stuff. They do. They don't like this. Therefore, be ye also ready, for in such an hour as ye think not the Son of Man cometh. Right now, people are thinking that he can't come today. He cannot. There are organizations like FAI Studios that say that Jesus cannot come for at least 7 years. Why? Because they believe in a post-tribulation rapture, which is really a procession. If they didn't believe that Jesus couldn't come for 7 years, if they didn't believe that he can come at any time, that's imminency. And this is what we believe, that Jesus can come at any time. Why? Because we don't know when the Holy Spirit is going to unveil or reveal the Antichrist. Because when that unveiling comes off, we are out of here. This is our escape clause. Yes, we believe in escaping from God's wrath. Why? Because we are not ordained unto God's wrath. We're not ordained to wrath. We're not talking about hell here, guys. We got to grow up here. That is the lake of fire. We know that from day one. But we also know that there's wrath coming upon the earth. It's called Jacob's trouble. Just read in Jeremiah. Talks all about it. It's coming. There's 1 week that has to be completed. That hasn't happened yet. But that's not the church. The church isn't going through the wrath of God. We're out of here. Pretty crystal clear. Why do you think Jesus keeps saying watch? You don't need to watch when you're going through the tribulation. Why? Because you're going to be worried about where your next meal is. And you know when you're there, you know that you're trying to avoid the Antichrist and all this kind of stuff. So Jesus is like, look, before all these things come to pass, pray that you're worthy to pray that you are worthy to escape before, pray that you are worthy, that you're counted worthy to escape before all these things come to pass. That's Luke 21. Maybe we'll read that, but let's just continue. Therefore, be ye also ready, for in such as an hour as ye think not the Son of Man cometh. Who then is a faithful and wise servant, whom his Lord hath made ruler over his household, to give them meat in due season? Blessed is that servant whom the Lord, when he cometh, shall find in so doing. Verily, I say unto you that he shall make him ruler over all his goods. This is why we're being ready every single day. But, and if that evil servant shall say in his heart, my Lord delayeth his coming. So what do you think that means? When a servant goes, you know what? I don't think Jesus is coming tonight. Guys, it's evil to think that Jesus is coming tonight. That's an evil satanic stronghold. That's no, don't no, guys. That's bad. Bad, very bad to think that stuff. That's wicked. Don't do that. Why? Because Jesus can't come. He can't leave his throne for 7 years. That's, to me, that's kind of an evil heart to say that Jesus isn't coming to 2030. It's weird. It's weird. He can come and get us whenever he wants. Why? Because he created the universe. I'm sorry, but that's the way it is. He can do what he wants, when he wants, how he wants. And this is how he chooses to do it. It's called imminence. He's asking us to be watchful for a reason, to stay awake. How many times does he have to say it? Watch, stay awake, be alert. Why? Because he's coming to get us and take us to be with him. And if the evil servant shall say in his heart, my Lord delayeth his coming, and shall begin to smite his fellow servants, and to eat and drink with the drunken, the Lord of that servant shall come in a day when he looketh not for him, and in an hour when he is not aware of, has no clue. We're out of here. Has no idea. And shall cut him asunder, and appoint him his portion with the hypocrites, and there shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Interesting, right? Very interesting. And then we get the 10 virgins right after this. Right after. Like, there's so many. Maybe I'll hold off here because, again, this will make this a really long video. But I wanted to give you, let's go to Luke 21 real quick. Finish up with this one. Luke 21. 21. Look at this. Verse 20, this is Luke 21. And when ye shall see the compassed armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh. Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains. These be the days of vengeance. I'm not going to read the whole thing. All they that are written may be fulfilled. But woe unto them that are with child, to them that give suck. So this is the days of vengeance. This is what has to be fulfilled. Jacob's trouble. They shall fall by the edge of the sword. They shall be led captive. Jerusalem shall be trodden down. The Gentiles, there shall be signs in the sun and the moon, stars upon the earth, distressed nations with perplexity, the seas and the waves roaring, men's hearts failing them for fear, looking after those things which are coming on the earth. For the powers of heaven shall be shaken. And then they shall see the Son of Man coming in a cloud of power and great glory. And remember, we're coming with Jesus Christ back to earth. When these things begin to come to pass, then look up. So when these things begin to come to pass, when? Not after these things come to pass. When these things begin, look up. And lift up your heads, for your redemption draweth nigh. What does that mean? That means Jesus is coming to get us. Spake them the parable. Behold, the fig tree and all the trees, when they sow, when they now shoot forth, you see and know your own selves that summer is now nigh at hand. So likewise, when ye see that these things come to pass, know ye that the kingdom of God is nigh and at hand. Know that this is coming. And we can look around us and go, yeah, it's very close. Jesus can come back any time. Verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass away till all be fulfilled. All those people that see these signs happening, about to happen, it's going to come to pass. Look at this now. Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my word shall not pass away. And take heed, this is important, lest at any time your hearts be overcharged with surfeiting. What does that mean? That means like excess, like you're buying extra boats and cars and all kinds of stuff, and you're occupied with your mind on all this stuff. So this is Jesus saying, take heed that you don't be overcharged with surfeiting and drunkenness and the cares of this life, And so that day come upon you unawares. What day? That day, the day of Jacob's trouble. It's coming. Don't be caught like you're unaware. For as a snare shall come upon all them that dwell on the face of the whole earth. For as a snare shall it come upon all them. So it'll come like a snare to all of them. They can't escape. Those that don't know Jesus Christ, there is no escape. No escape. It's like a woman giving birth. It's not like she can stop it from happening. Once she gets into child labor, child pains, labor pains, child labor pains, um, it's inevitable. The child's going to come forth. So once those birth pains start, it's like, get her to the hospital. Watch ye therefore and pray always that ye may be counted worthy to escape all these things that shall come to pass, and to stand before the Son of Man. So let's read it again. Watch ye therefore and pray always that ye may be counted worthy to escape all these things that shall come to pass, and to stand before the Son of Man. So what are we to do? We're to pray always. Just pray that we're counted worthy. How do we know that we're counted worthy? Because we believe that Jesus Christ is the Son of God. That's how you get counted worthy. Why? Because God is the justifier. He justifies us because of what his Son, Jesus Christ, did. And we now have a witness of the Holy Spirit bearing witness with our spirit that we are saved. We are counted worthy. We are worthy of being saved from the wrath of God to come upon all the earth, because it's going to come upon them like a snare and they won't be able to escape. We will be able to escape. How? We are considered worthy of escaping. Pretty straightforward. That's it. So hopefully, I can go on, but hopefully that gives you a bit of a snapshot. I try not to put too much bias into it. Um, but I hope it makes sense. I hope you can go, you know what, how Shane presented it, it's like, boy, just thinking about Noah and the flood, like it kind of sounds like Noah was saved from the flood. And then why did Jesus say it'll be like the days before the flood? Huh. Why is he telling this? And then why is he saying pray that you're worthy of escape? Just look up what the word escape means. Just look it up. It's interesting, right? But yet people will get mad at me and will call me just about every name under the sun in the comments. Just watch the comments flow after this video. Just watch it. People won't even watch the whole video. They see a title, they see a thumbnail, and they start on the keyboard and they're like, you're satanic. You're a liar. You hate everyone and you hate Joel Richardson and all this and blah, blah. No, no, no. Joel Richardson was from Boston. He's the Bostonite. He can take it. We're brothers in the Lord, man. We come at each other. It's not out of hate. It's like, hey, I think you're wrong. I think you're wrong in that area. I think you said this wrong. He could do the same thing to me. Hey, I think Shane is wrong in this. It's a free world, man. Go ahead. So that's all I'm doing. I'm not coming at Joel Richardson personally. I think he's an awesome dude. He'd be a guy that I'd love to hang around with. But we need this kind of conversation to happen to help you, the audience, go, okay, this is what Joel believes. And he has some good teachings as well. This is what Shane believes. And then now you can kind of decide yourself, like, oh, did Shane kind of sway you over to the side where you read a little bit more of your Bible? Or do you want to go on the side where you just want to live in fear and go, man, I can't sleep at night because I got to go through Jacob's trouble in order to earn my salvation, when Jesus said, just pray that you endure to the end. Just, endure to the end. When is the end? Well, the end is that chunk. So endure to the end when it starts. That's pretty straightforward because Jesus said, you're going to see all this stuff, pestilences, you're going to see earthquakes and divers, but that's not the end, guys. The end is here. So pray that you can endure till the end. Pray that you endure all these things, these birth pains, the beginnings of sorrows until the end. So the end is here. So when the end comes, I'm going to come and take you. Because I just told you that. I just said, when I go away, in my father's house are many mansions. And if it weren't so, I would tell you. But I'm going to prepare a place for you. And if I prepare a place, I'm coming back to get you so that you can be with me. Isn't that comfort food? Is this not the most comforting video that you've ever watched in your life? Can you just not relax now and go, you know what? I am waiting for Jesus Christ now. When I say relax, I mean like not be stressed out. That's all I mean. I'm not saying that people don't get persecuted. I'm not saying that bad things don't happen. Welcome to planet Earth. People are jerks. People say things, they hurt each other, all this kind of stuff, crime, all this stuff, but that's not the wrath of God. That's not the wrath that's coming. All right. Love you guys. Subscribe to this channel. Let me know in the comments. Let me know where you're watching from. Let me know if you think I'm crazy, if I'm a false prophet, if I'm lying to you, all this kind of stuff, because I know that's coming down the pipes. But let me know if you got something out of this. If you have, give me a thumbs up, share this video, and then YouTube will actually know that you like this kind of thing, and then they'll pump it out so more people can see it. And again, I hope I've been fair in reading the scriptures. It's very difficult to totally come at it without any bias. It's very difficult, especially after reading the Bible over and over again and going, man, God loves me so much. Why? Because he sent his only son to die for me. So that's the bias that I'm looking at the Bible. That's the lens that I'm looking through is I am a joint heir of Christ. I have a seat in heavenly places. So that's my biases, if you will. That's how I approach the Bible. I don't approach him from a hammer, crushing us, dragging us through the dirt and through the mud. I see a loving God, a loving Father that wants all men to be saved. And this is why he's delaying right now. If he delays another 100 years, I'm fine with that because I'll probably have the Bible memorized 100 years from now. It's a good chance of it. Probably a better chance I won't make it 100 years, but I'm just saying that I get to know him just a little bit better each day that he tarries. And I can't wait to see him. I can't. This is what hope is. Hope is for something that you can't see, someone that you can't see. You're an expectancy, if you will. So this is how we live every single day. Edify the church, read our Bible, build each other up, go to church, go to Bible studies, put other people before you, go visit your sick friends in the hospital, ask them how they're doing, all this kind of stuff. Call your mom. Hi, mom, if you're watching this, I'll call you. That kind of thing. Anyways, thanks for watching. See you later. Bye.